And the Prophet ﷺ said there are 7 categories of people that are going to be shaded and honored with that shade of the throne of Allah. And from those people, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned the 3rd category was وَرَجُلٌ قَلْبُهُ مُعَلَّقٌ بِالْمَسَاجِدِ, and that man and that person who had his heart connected to the house of Allah in this dunya. So this shows us the clear virtue of the masajid in our religion. And even for our iman, it's important that we understand we have to be part of a community. We have to be part of a community. When we first start practicing, one of the first things that we need to do is find a masjid that we are comfortable with, that we feel like our iman strengthens and grows there, that it teaches us that knowledge that we need to grow in our religion, that knowledge which is authentic and pleasing to Allah. And we have to understand the importance of unity and being in a community and visiting that masjid regularly, socializing with other people from different backgrounds, but their goal is the same in this dunya, to come and worship Allah and attain Allah's pleasure and His mercy. Because we find the Prophet ﷺ told us that the wolf, it devours the lone sheep. The wolf devours the lone sheep, meaning seclusion is not something which is positive, especially excessive seclusion. It's not something which is positive. And when you look at the context of this hadith, it's when the companion Abu Darda, he asked one of the tabi'een, he said, "Where do you live?" And he said, "I live in a small village near Hims." And he said to him, "How many of you are there in this village?" He said, "We are very small in number." Abu Darda, he replied, he said, "Even if there is 3 of you in this village, come together and pray together. Because I heard the Prophet ﷺ say, stick to the congregation, alaykum bil jama'ah, فَإِنَّمَا يَأْكُلُ الذِّئْبُ الْقَاسِيَةِ, because the wolf will devour the lone sheep." So anytime you see yourself in excessive seclusion and cutting yourself off from the community, then this is one of the tricks of the shaitan and a warning sign for your iman. But rather, as the Prophet ﷺ said, the believer, he mingles and he mixes. And this is how we make our iman sustainable, being in the masjid frequently. From the points that we learn about the masjid in the Qur'an, Allah tells us, وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ فَلَا تَدْعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا. And remember, O Muslims, that the masajid, the places of worship, those places that have been dedicated to remembering Allah's name, they belong to Allah and Allah alone. So do not worship besides Him in any way. So from the lessons that we learn from this verse is that the masjid belongs to Allah. And us as people that come and worship at the masjid or frequent the masjid regularly, we have to make it welcoming and easy for those people. Maybe it's their first time, maybe they're not regulars, maybe they were here for some time, then they disappeared, or they're struggling with their iman or their faith. وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ. The masjid does not belong to any one community or based on their righteousness or piety. No, it's the house of Allah. And you have a responsibility to make it loving and welcoming and easy for everybody that wants to access the services that it should be providing. When it comes to the topics of today, Masjid al-Quba and Masjid al-Qiblatain, then we'll start with Masjid al-Quba. And before we even get into the many virtues that Allah has honored this great masjid with, let's speak about some of the historical significance of this masjid. Now, it's important we understand, when it comes to these masajid, they are very special because Allah has placed reward and virtue therein. And for us to go and worship there, there's a great amount of reward that Allah has placed there. And there's religious virtue in doing so. And this is part of our heritage as Muslims. This is part of our history of the great Muslim empires that came before us and have left these great masajid there for us. And the reality is it's very rare for a masjid to have these great virtues connected to it. You can count them on a hand. Masjid al-Haram, Masjid al-Nabawi, Masjid al-Aqsa, Masjid al-Quba. Very rare. But there's still many other amazing masajid that have great history connected to them. And this is our heritage as Muslims. And when we learn about our deen, we should also be learning about these masajid and the great heritage that we have left behind. And we should be teaching our children of these great masajid and their importance and how beautiful they are. When it comes to Medina, then there are 5 places which are of virtue, meaning as an ibadah you can go to these places, you should go to these places when you visit the Prophet's city sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's many other places that are important and have history there and the Prophet ﷺ visited. But as for an act of worship, that Allah has told you to do this, or the Prophet ﷺ used to do this, and there's a reward connected to that, then this is something very unique.
Please like, share and subscribe to the Digital Member YouTube channel and hit the notification bell. Please also like, share and subscribe to our Facebook and Twitter. Links in the description of this video.